All right, so welcome back to part 2 of the podcast. I had to cut Jerry in the middle of a very good story, because that's what I said. The first 45 minutes flew by like in 5 minutes. I can't believe it. I've never done a podcast where I didn't have to talk this little. That's incredible, Jerry. There's so much stuff, coming. We could do like a 5-hour podcast, and just want to acknowledge the website that I've been able to contribute a few articles lately, ZWrestleTalk.com, ZWrestleTalkWeebly.com, and the owner of the website is called Zach, and he's asking you a few questions, Jerry. The first question he was asking you is if you're still watching wrestling today.
You know what? Not like I used to. I do, I swear to you, the other night I was flicking through and I caught Raw, and something caught my eye. Let me think of it. Cody was in a match with some other guys or something like that, and I watched a little bit. But I don't, I should watch it more, but I mean, I just don't watch it that much. On all fronts. When every once in a while I do, but I don't watch it, like I used to. You know what I mean?
I totally understand.
That's a bad thing, but
I totally understand. I'll also ask you a question. What's the darkest point of your career? What point do you consider that would be the lowest point of your career as a tag team, or maybe just personally in the wrestling business?
You mean as a low, what affected my career the most, and this is a story you guys are probably waiting to get at, but when the WCW really was changing, and we were upset about it from what it really was. It was a great place, and the main change came not because of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, but it was Eric Bischoff was destined to make WCW a WWE, and that's a giant mistake, because it was its own thing, its own style wrestling, and its own character. But I mean, it started going in that direction, but what happened was when Scott and Kevin came down and all that, and then Scott Hall was, close friend, very close, because we are all broke in together. Scott was there already with Kurt, and so was Shawn and Marty, the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty. As our younger generation, that was our gang there. And Scott came in later and did the Razor Ramon thing, and then we left. But when Scott and Kevin came in, they were in a different mindset compared to what I thought and Knobs thought. And it sort of took us back a little bit. And by the way, especially coming from Scott, Scott lived with us, different things like that. But a long story short, what ended up happening was, it was push come to shove. I ended up punching Scott because of something he did, and in a match, and it pretty much went to south from there for me, because they were in charge at the time. So I got left the business in the middle of my career, pretty much, out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a tough time. That's sort of a low point there, because I still never rebuilt it to that level since that happened to me.
I remember that. Yeah.
And Knobs too.
I know, and I remember the match, with the with Scott Hall, and it turned into kind of a shoot, and that was it. Totally the end of your WC career at that point, or
after what happened, after Scott hit me in the ring, we went back and finished the loop. And then something else happened again in another match, which I don't want to go into because it's a long story. And that's when I ended up getting in a fight with Scott. And at the the end of that, we were just left at home. We were still under contract for a while after that, for at least another, 6 months to a year, I don't remember. But we were just left at home out of the picture until they let us go. So we never really recovered after that, or their careers.
It's true, and it's not easy, sometimes to when you think about it, careers are, sometimes it's stuff that you can't control. If you could go back in time and change it, but at the same time, you've had amazing career. You've had multiple tag team titles, in WCW, in the WWE, and other federations. So you can't look back and not be happy about what you did. Great career.
Well, it came to me at a point in the business where I went through some very hard personal things, with losing my father and different things like that, deaths. And at the same time, Scott messed with me, and that came to a head with that, and it all affected me in a roundabout way. Business-wise, if I could do it again, would I have knocked his teeth out? Probably not, because, I could have sat there and, stayed in the business, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the point in time, it was sort of all came to a head. Like you said, timing's everything, and everything came to a head at once, and that was the tip of the volcano. You know what I mean? What can you do? It's life,
Exact.
So,
looking back, something I've always wanted to ask you. You won the tag team titles at WrestleMania. So that's something that not a lot of people can say, that they've won a title at a WrestleMania show. So you've had a WrestleMania moment. And walk me through that day, WrestleMania. First of all, did you know beforehand, or did you learn the day of the show that you were going to win the titles against the Hart Foundation? Or
No, never knew it. That's the old school way. We never knew anything like that was happening. And I have the greatest respect, best friends of the Hart family with me and Knobs. From Stu, we spent many tours in Japan with Dynamite and Davey. The Amble's one of our best friends. Davey Boy, Harry, and Georgia, their daughter and son, used to come to my house when they were just, 6 and 7 years old.
Wow.
We spent time at the Hart House after that with Davey and Bret, and Stu took us in the dungeon, and we're good on the road. There's many stories with Owen, because he wrestled Coco and Owen, and Coco and Owen and Anvil when they were a team.
Wow.
So just to get a chance to wrestle, because coming up in learning the business, to be able to wrestle the Hart Foundation, come on, total respect, from the Ample and Brett. We met them years ago when we were in Nashville. We went to, the Nashville Arena there when WWE was in town, and we were snooping around there, and I saw Dynamite Kid over there, and all of a sudden, me and Knobs are trying to sneak in to see the guys and stuff, and Dynamite Kid's over there. And about 2 seconds later, here comes Andre. Get out! We went, oh my God! Andre came running after us with his hand up in the air and chased us the hell out of there. We ran out of that goddamn building so fast, you couldn't even see. Dynamite went and said, we saw another team come in. Dynamite and Andre chased our ass out of the building.
I believe
you. We ran down the street, scared the shit out of us.
My goodness.
He was going to kill us. Because we're just in Tennessee. We're going, well, let's go meet the guys. So now me and Knobs go, we are in shock. We don't go back in the building. So later on, let's go down to the Applebee's or something by our apartment down there. And who do we run into but Brett some finally broken with Vern, and Bret's telling stories about Stu and how he knew Vern in the business back then. And so Bret leaves, and of course Anvil takes us to the secondary school. You know, me and Knob stay up all night with the Anvil. So when, you know, we went to like wrestling the Bushwhackers, who are good buddies of ours, and different teams, and on and off with the Rockers, which was like the most unbelievable thing. To, you know, you talk about having a great tag team match with Shawn and Marty. It was like, that was like heaven, being able to wrestle with them guys, because they were so talented, you know. And that goes back to us sitting on the behind the bleachers watching them two work with Buddy Rose and Doug Summers in Minneapolis. You know what I mean? When we were just breaking in the business. But
oh my God,
who knew when we were booked against them? I thought, you know, we're going to get, you know, our ass beat or something like that. You know, regular what we're used to doing. When we wrestle, we're going to have the greatest. We're going to go in there, have the greatest match we can, whatever the outcome is. The outcome, never knowing that was going to happen. I was in shock myself.
Were you nervous the day of the show? You know, do you go through the match in the dressing room with the guys before, or basically, you know how much time you have, and then the finish and the midway point? But for a WrestleMania match, you know, is it more planned than let's say a house show, or?
It depends on I think, in the importance. But back then, I didn't hear anything like that. We didn't go over anything, barely any, and we were. You have, you know, from here to here, do what you got to do. Is an important match. It's a tag team, so I mean, if we wrestled 15 minutes or 25, then somebody else was going to get their time cut. You know, same like with, you know, the main event, whether it was Hulk Hogan or whoever.
Yes, sure.
Whatever time he needs is going to be given to him, you know?
Yeah.
And allotted. So, I mean, that it wasn't, you know, that was part of it, not knowing, you know? At that point in time, you know, the business has changed a lot since then.
Exactly.
And
now
over so much and know so much. You know, you went on what your experience at that time has taught you, and what you're going to do in that point in time. You know.
Exactly. But you were also going in the ring with guys, you know, that, you know, two extraordinary wrestlers, Jerry, you know, Bret and Jim. So you couldn't go wrong, you know. All of you veterans at that point, and about the same age, right? Probably around the same age, the four of you. Maybe Bret.
Bret and Jim are a generation older than us.
Yeah, no,
I'm 52 now, and I just text Bret. I know he's in his late
50s.
I think he's 58 or 9 because we made that announcement. So I've been texting back and forth with him, telling him jokes and stuff about, you know, kicking, the prostrate thing's ass and all that.
Oh yeah.
Right? So like a generation, not that much though, not 10, 15 years, but Bret's at least 6 or 7 years older than me.
And me, you were probably the same age than Shawn and Marty when they came out. Probably closer to.
Shawn's a little younger than us.
A little bit,
even though he was in the business, and Shawn was in the business longer.
Yeah, and I was
an early start. Shawn was trained by Jose Lothario, singly trained by him, one-on-one in San Antonio, Texas. And then Shawn went to Bill Watts in the Texas territory, and then met up with Marty somewhere along the line and landed at the AWA when we met him. So, and then Shawn was like almost like seeing Bob Orton for the first time in the ring. You know, you knew that since the day he stepped in the ring was, you know, that's one of the greatest workers you're ever going to see because he just was natural. You know, to me, watching him,
you could see right away. You know, probably that it was something special. Probably the same thing with Bret.
Special.
Probably the same thing with Bret when you wrestled Bret.
Yeah, and Bret's thing was simplicity. You know, what Stu had taught him and that thing, and then that's just I would see Bret every night knees with ace bandages and warm up, and then go and just be like mediocre. He'd barely do anything but just wrap his knees, stretch a little bit, and see him go to the ring, and he would give 170%. I don't care if you're up for 5 days or if we're on the road 30 days, and he would set a standard for all the other guys on the road, and he would work, and never once did he ever come out of that ring where he wasn't breathing heavy and blown up, even though he was in the greatest shape, because that's how hard he worked every freaking night, and that's respect, and that was what Stu taught him. Bret busted his balls like that every night. It hurt, broken this, that, tape it up and go, and you just watch him and go, holy shit. Not a lot of crazy jumping out over the rope onto the floor stuff and all that. I'm just talking about working a body part and staying on it, and good, stern looking strikes and moves and technical wrestling in his style. And he would do his thing. And that's what, Johnny Valentine, Greg told us, and his dad, we got to be around him. And Greg said in front of us, when he was talking to Johnny, he goes, yeah, I told him, his Johnny's right there. He goes, hey, I told him, what do I do? He goes, just do your thing. Do your thing and stick with it, and they'll get with it. And, whatever it is. And don't vary from it. Do your thing, and they'll get with it. That's what Johnny Valentine's thing, and that's what I think Stu taught Bret. Do your thing. Do what you do. And that's what he did.
That's cool. You're saying this.
That work ethic was worth $1 million,
It's true, because I remember one night, I was driving Bret to the arena from the hotel, and I had to help him to get out of the car. And I remember when you went to the Montreal Forum before the Bell Center, there was like 2 steps to enter the door in the back door behind the building. And Bret put his arm on my shoulder, to just jump those 2 steps. And I'm like, it's impossible. He can't wrestle tonight. And he was wrestling in the main event against Jacques Rougeau. And he did wrestle, drop kicks and everything. So I'm like, wow, like you said, the knee was taped up. I remember Sid Huey. I remember broken finger, broken hand. And the guys would keep on wrestling, like you said before. Everybody was so scared to lose their spot. They would keep on wrestling even though they were injured.
I don't think that was ever in Bret's mind, losing a spot. I don't think it was that. It was
for Bret. It was professional.
Some guys maybe that was their motivation, but it was never Bret Hart's motivation. I can tell you that.
Oh no,
experience. Bret's motivation was respect and learning what coming up and being brought up by Stu and his family in the business. And I don't think Bret cared one thing or another about losing a job or whatever. But no matter what he did, he was going to go out there and do his best to respect the business and show his skills in the best way he could, no matter what happened.
Exactly.
Pretty much saying, maybe you can kiss my ass.
But it's so different than
I'm doing what I got to do.
It's so different than today. Totally different now. In this era, just a minor injury.
A lot of people say different today, but it's not that the guys probably don't want to do stuff like that or
agreed
or be like that. It's that the business has changed. So what do? Do you fight it, or do you change with it and do what it is now? That's the way I think about it. It ain't the guy's fault, because I think the heart and soul's there.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
The best example being Daniel Bryan. He still wanted to wrestle, and it took a long time for him to agree.
What happened to that guy? What did he do? He had a concussion or something?
Yeah, he had many concussions, and he wanted to keep wrestling. He was cleared by a few doctors. The wrestler doctor would not clear him, and then he saw another doctor that saw that he had scars on his brain, and he had also concussion, freeze. Sometimes his brain would totally brain freezing. It's very dangerous. He could have died. So he basically had to come to grips that he could not wrestle anymore. And
how did he get? What was his concussions caused by?
I think he had, like you said, 4 concussions in the first year, and then they counted at least 10 concussions.
From what? Hitting his head on the ring?
Yeah, exactly. Hitting his head on the ring, and crazy bumps on the floor. And his style was very hard hitting for a guy that was weighing 180 pounds. He was wrestling that's incredible. His style was very, very physical.
Yeah, I have my doctors try to figure that out because I have about at least 12 serious documented concussions.
Oh my goodness!
And so now what they consider concussions, so that means I probably have what they consider today a concussion in our day was just a bump in the head, probably 30 to 40, at least 25 concussions, what you would call a concussion.
My goodness.
And I feel the effects of it. I know what happens from it. I have total memory loss and you get anger issues and all the other stuff that go with it. You know what I mean?
That's
yeah.
I hear you. What is the? Do you remember one match?
I don't care. I don't care about it though. I don't worry about it. If you die, you die. But I know my brains. It's the NFL. I tell them guys that all the time with the golf tournaments and stuff. And listen, I got more fucking concussions than your whole defensive line got. Your football team. You kidding me?
True.
You know what I mean? And that's the God's honest truth.
I totally agree.
And we did what we did, with no helmet.
Exactly.
I mean, from ring post to chairs to cement floors to whatever it is. It was a common thing for me through the 90s to have spinal fluid leaking out of my ears.
My God.
Come on, really? Give me a fucking break.
That's incredible. I remember, one time, we're in the room, with Chris Chavez, Tatanka, and he was holding his head, and he didn't remember the city he was in. He had probably been busted open during the match. I think it was wrestling against, my goodness. Tatanka. Chris Chavez.
Okay, well, think of that. Chris Chavez is a good buddy of mine.
He's a great guy.
He's having that problems, and he really, we did street fights where you take 6, 7 major chair or garbage can or post as a shoot a night. Or Chris never wrestled even that kind of thing. And look at the problems he's having. You know what I'm saying? He was a straight out, the Indian gimmick, and he wasn't getting hit by pipes and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was a tough guy.
Think what I'm going through. Connect those dots. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Not saying that Chris was any less of a wrestler or anything like that, but that wasn't his gimmick. It was ours.
Imagine Mick Foley. Just try to imagine how many concussions Mick Foley had. That's incredible.
Well, he's in that realm, and he taught me in concussions.
That's totally amazing.
Because he went on longer more time than I did.
And he's still walking.
At the same spot and did it together.
Yeah. He's still walking, and he still looks. He